Welcome to part two of the Palos Verdes Drive driving tour. And if you missed part one, don't worry, you don't have to go back and watch that first. What I'm going to do is I'm going to include at the beginning of that one where I explain everything, give you kind of the intro, background, cover the map a little bit, and go over all of that. And then we'll jump into the second part of the driving tour, which is mostly going to cover Palos Verdes Drive East and Palos Verdes Drive South, a little bit of PV Drive West. Now, if you watched part one, if you want to catch that after you watch all of this one, then you can go back and at the end of this video, it'll show on the screen. You can just click on the next video. That'll be part one of the driving tour, and you can just skip the intro part, go straight to the driving tour. We're going to cover Palos Verdes Drive North and part of Palos Verdes Drive West in that one. Now, if you've already seen part one and you want to jump ahead here, you don't need to watch the whole intro because you've already seen it. Feel free to watch it again. But you can also just jump ahead. It's going to be probably, depending on the editing and the time once we finalize it, it'll be probably around minute 7 or so, give or take. So go ahead and check that out. And here, we're going to get back into the intro and take it from there. Hope you enjoy. Have you ever gotten lost driving around Palos Verdes? Well, it can be easy to do. Get turned around, get confused. There's so many windy streets. Some don't go through from one neighborhood to another. It can be a little confusing, and you definitely aren't alone. And hopefully, this video will give you at least a start on how to kind of figure your way around. And then obviously the more you do it, the more you'll get used to it. But what I want to give you here today is just kind of an overview of Palos Verdes Drive. And that if you have that as kind of the base and know, because there are 4 different Palos Verdes drives. So if you know which one's which, why they are where they are, kind of helps you know where you are, or if you're going that direction, you know which one you actually should be looking out for. So hopefully that will help. That's what we're going to talk about here today. I'm going to show you a little bit about a map, where they are, so you can kind of get your bearings there. And then we're actually going to take a little drive through Palos Verdes, and I'm going to show you, which one's which, what they look like, what areas you're going through, maybe, talk a little about a few different landmarks and things that we might see along the way. So let's get into it. First, we're going to talk about the map, and I'm going to go over just to kind of give you a high level of the hill, where it is, and where the PV drive is, and how it basically kind of circles around the hill. So let's jump over to that. So here we are. Here is a map. It's a map of the South Bay, kind of South LA County here. You can see this is Palos Verdes. This is what we call the hill. You got the rest of the South Bay here, beach cities, Manhattan, Hermosa Redondo, Torrance, San Pedro here, bordered a little bit by Lomita, and then you can see where Long Beach is here off to the east. So what I want to get into, just to show you kind of a little bit and just explain, the first thing to know is when you hear Palos Verdes Drive, you're going to hear Palos Verdes Drive west and east and south and west. And, once you know, it seems kind of obvious, but I didn't know that when I was first driving into Palos Verdes many years ago, that the name of it is where it's located on the hill. And even when you know that, sometimes, not everybody's the best with directions. So sometimes, if you can get turned around, which way's north, which way's south. So I want to just touch on it a little bit. Palos Verdes Drive North is going to be, it's always on what side of PV it's on, what side of the hill. So PV Drive North goes right along here along the northern side of Palos Verdes. And so it's PV Drive North. And then then turns into west. You don't really know it's even changed. You do, kind of veer off a little bit, but you're basically still on the same street, takes you around the western side here. Until you get over to Hawthorne, and then it'll turn into PV Drive South, which takes you along the southern side, and then PV Drive East connects kind of right over in here, and it'll wind up around and it'll connect back over to PV Drive North. Like I said, we're going to drive some of these, and I'll give you some specifics as we're going through there. But I want to give you some things to kind of get your bearings, when you are there. For some people, they forget which way's north, which way's south, and they get turned around. So just, if the northern side is going to be up here, so you're looking at the city. So you're going to be, Torrance, you'll be coming from Torrance. Probably these are the ways you come into it. You'll be coming from Redondo, Torrance, somewhere over here. If you're looking out that way, you'll see as far as downtown. So the city is on the north. And then obviously you go around to the west, you're going to see a lot of ocean. You're going to know if the ocean, if I'm next to the ocean, most likely it's going to be west or south, really. So if it's west, you're going to be able to see up into the Santa Monica Bay. You're going to see, all the beach cities. You see all the way up into Santa Monica and even Malibu. You can see along the coast, and you have some really nice views from there that we call the Queen's Necklace. And because at night they're all lit up and it curves around with the bay, and it looks like a necklace. And in the daytimes, you have some really pretty views of the ocean. You can even see the whitewater from the waves crashing. And so that's how you'll know you're kind of you're basically on the west side. So as you go around to the south, you're still going to see the ocean. You're not going to see the coast like that though. So you'll know if you're looking out and you see pretty much just, wide open ocean for the most part. What you will see, which will tell you you're over here, is Catalina. You'll see Catalina Island. And when we drive around, should be able to see that while we're driving. You can get some really pretty views out there. So if you're driving along, you see Catalina, you're going to know, all right, I'm on the south side. I'm on PV Drive South. And then as you go, if you hang a left and go up PV Drive East from PV Drive South, you're going to be looking east. You'll be seeing some of the city again, but you also will see the coast heading down to Orange County. And on a clear day, you can see all the way down South Orange County. It's really nice. But you'll see the city, you'll see Long Beach, and you'll see all the city of LA and everything that extends to the east. And you'll see mountains. And so that'll give you kind of a sense of, knowing, okay, I'm on the east side of the hill. I'm on PV Drive East. So that gives you something there a little bit, just to hopefully get your bearings and have you start to get familiar with it. And now we can continue and head over, and we'll get in the car and take a tour around all the different PV drives and give you a little background and some info on the areas themselves. So let's jump over there. Okay, so now we are starting at the intersection of PV Drive North. You saw part one. If we would have gone straight there, that would have taken us down PV Drive North, down towards Dapple Gray and that direction. We talked about that one. If you didn't check that out, go ahead and check out part one. And so now we took a left. We're heading from PV Drive North. Now we're on PV Drive East, and we are going south at this point. Obviously, we're curving around, but the general direction is south. We're going to be going up the hill towards Miraleste, and then over down, and we're going to end up hitting PV Drive South. Now, if you saw one of my previous videos, a walkthrough, at least one of them, we did a little tour from Larga Vista, was that neighborhood, and that's the neighborhood right here to our left. If you're going in there, nice little neighborhood. We're in Rolling Hills Estates. We're actually just technically going right into Rancho Palos Verdes now. But there's a little pocket there of Rolling Hills Estates that was off of PV Drive North, and that just a little bit there of PV Drive East. So now we're heading up. We are in Rancho Palos Verdes with the Larga Vista neighborhood, really nice neighborhood. If you didn't see that one before, it's only one way in, one way out, just by that entrance right there. We just went by that when I was pointing it out, and a few little streets in there. Nice neighborhood. You get some views of the harbor. So definitely a good area to consider. But now we're heading up RPV, and this is the kind of MLS, we call it the PV Drive East area. You got houses that will actually, they have a Palos Verdes Drive East address. Most of them don't sit right on Palos Verdes Drive East. Some of them, like that one, you can see it sits back a little bit. A lot of them, there'll be a frontage road. So there's a little neighborhood right there, Stonegate, and you can go in there, and there's a couple streets and some houses that sit back in there. But you'll see some, like a little driveway that will have like 3 or 4 addresses on it. You'll see a home that's labeled PV Drive East, and some people might not want that because it's a busier street. You might not want to live right on it. But I wouldn't exclude anything from it. I would actually confirm, okay, is it right on PV Drive East? If that is an issue to you, or is it just the address is there and it's a frontage road, or it's a driveway that goes and it might sit 2 or 3 houses back off of PV Drive East. So it's something to consider. Now, as you can see, we're going up. It's windy, it's hilly. Some of the driveways, some of the streets, even coming off of the different sides, it could be, there are some blind corners, there are some tough corners to see when someone's coming. Most of the homes are going to have a driveway or have some type of turnaround or something where you're not backing out onto PV Drive East. That would definitely be a challenge. But most of them have it where you can turn around and you can pull straight out, and so it's an easier way to get out. But you definitely need to be paying attention because there are a lot of turns, and people can be coming around those turns. So okay, we're heading up, and as we go up here, we're going to be getting into the Miraleste area. It's coming up. That's where I've done other tours. We've gone by the middle school, Miraleste Intermediate, MIS. There's a preschool up here, which is MILA, Miraleste Early Learning Academy. This is where one of the gates, remember we went by Rolling Hills, we went by the main gate of Rolling Hills. So up here is the PV Drive East gate. And so you're going to be able to, you can enter off of PV Drive East as well. So you can enter off PV Drive East as well. There's a little neighborhood back in there, but this is the gate where you would take and you would go into Rolling Hills right through that gate. And another entrance to get because Rolling Hills is really big, and to get on this side of it, you don't really want to go in through the main gate or through the gate of Crenshaw, which I had shown you before, or talked about before, because then there's again windy roads, and it can take you a little while to get from one side to the other. So no need if you're over this way, it's easy just to shoot right up through there. But you can't cut through from one side to the other. They're pretty strict with the guard gates there on getting you in. So here's the library. And we're going around, and on the right, this whole property on our right is the middle school, Miraleste Early Learning Academy. Everything off the left, again, there's roads that go down, and as you can see, they're sloped. So you get some really nice views that are coming in as you get the slope down. And then we're coming up, Miraleste Early Learning Academy is the one over here that I mentioned before. And if you saw, some of my other videos of home tours, property tours, you can go see those on my YouTube page. But I've done some where we've come from the neighborhood that's just below here and come up the back way into the middle school. And so, as you can see, we were pulling up there. It is school time. You can see there's a decent amount of traffic. It's not normally like this. This is a stretch. They've got crossing guards that were there. I cut the recording a little bit because I didn't want to, show a bunch of kids on there or anything. But you can see someone's directing traffic there. There's another one where I was pulling up to those crossing guards. There's usually another guy there that's directing traffic. Does a really good job. This guy's been there for a while. Keeps traffic moving pretty well. But coming out of the middle school, or pulling out of the road that is bringing you from the preschool, it's tough if you're trying to make a left because you got so many people that are coming through there. Some are turning in to go to the school, some are not. So it's really helpful that guy's there, stopping traffic. So if you're coming left out of the middle school, or even going left out of the preschool, you can get out of there a lot easier. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck there, and it's going to back up. So. So just so you know, they do a good job with that. It doesn't back up a lot of traffic. It's pretty quick getting people in and out. Traffic is better at the middle school than at some of the elementary schools. You come in and you loop around and you go right back out. So it's pretty good. But, all right, now heading even more here up PV Drive East, and off to the left here, you can see somewhat tell there's some views there. You got some homes, like I said, that are right here on PV Drive East. Some of them will be up, some driveways will sit back a little bit, but as you can tell just a little bit there, that there's some pretty amazing views out that direction. We're going to see those when we get up here a little bit more to what I call the switchbacks. I don't call it, but that's what a lot of people call it. And it's where you're winding back and forth going down the hill, and you got some pretty massive views. And then you've got some homes, the style here, pretty impressive with the columns and, very presidential looking. And you'll see that one's not the only style like that. You'll see some others, but it's really cool. And then we're coming up here. At this point, we're getting into the Mira Catalina Elementary School. We've already kind of been at that point, Mira Catalina Elementary. I'll tell you where that kind of goes up. The UCLA bought the property up here Used to be Marymount. UCLA bought it and kept it. Almost was bought by a developer and developed it into homes. That didn't happen. Back there where we had just come from the crossing guards, right after the middle school, if you'd gone left, that was Miraleste, and that would take you down into Eastview and San Pedro and take you towards the freeway that way, like we'd come up from that way before on some of the other property tours I've done where I've taken you that way. So this is where you would hang a right. You go up to Mira Catalina, another elementary school. It's not as big as Dapple Gray. With Dapple Gray, like I mentioned before, saw my other video, it's a huge elementary school. It used to be a middle school, so that's why it's so big. But Mira Catalina is not quite as big. Just in case you're looking for something that's a little smaller, or you're looking for something that's a little bigger, you kind of tell. But now you can see where we're getting in some of those amazing views. There's Catalina Island off in the distance. The homes, the neighborhood you can go in off of the right where we just went by. This neighborhood that we're coming up here, they have some pretty incredible views. There's some houses up there on your left. Everything's looking out over the water. Up on the left, they might actually be able to see east as well. You can get good views of the city and the harbor and Orange County. As you can see, these that are facing this way in this little neighborhood here to the right, they have some pretty incredible views. So you're looking at all that water, Catalina Island. You can see some of the cliffs and everything off to the right. You've got the Trump Golf Course right down there. You're overlooking, and then we're heading here. This is where we're getting to the switchbacks. So you can see with that view, it's pretty incredible, and it's a nice day. The way the clouds are coming in and the sun's shining through them, it really makes it even better. But clear days, these houses that are up on the top of these hills, if they can see over the harbor down to the coast on clear days, they can see all the way to South Orange County along the coast there, and it's pretty amazing. So these are going to wind back and forth. You probably already saw there were a couple cyclists. You're going to get motorcycles riding through here. They like to whip through a little fast. There's signs that'll say don't watch your noise. They don't want the motorcycles revving their engines, making a lot of noise. But as you can see, we saw some cyclists. They like to ride down these. They ride up them, and it's a tough ride. But I mentioned it in one of the other videos. We will see some cyclists. It is a very common thing that people like to do around PV, and PV Drive is a great route. You've got lots of hills, windy. It can be kind of fun. I don't personally do it, but from what I hear, it can be fun. And if you're going up the hill, it is one heck of a workout. If you're going down the hill, I'm sure you got to be careful that you don't pick up too much speed. But it is a very common hobby around here, and it's good, healthy hobby. So as we're coming down, when we get to the bottom of this, that's where we are going to hit PV Drive East. And so we are getting to this southern edge of the hill of Palos Verdes. And if you go left, it's going to turn into 25th Street, and that'll take you straight into San Pedro. And then you can hit Western, you can hit Gaffey, and those will take you up towards the freeway. Gaffey will take you right into the freeway. Western will take you up into all the extra shopping and amenities. But there's some shopping and amenities and things right on 25th if you went down here and took a right. So if you're living over here, thinking about where you're going to shop, where you're going to go to the stores, really the closest thing in this kind of section, there's not a lot of houses right here, but there are some once we get on PV Drive South and some just up the hill where we came from. They're going to have to go probably 25th down into San Pedro. As we get on PV Drive South here, you go down a little ways and there's a Golden Cove Shopping Center. So this is PV Drive East. This is the intersection here. Now we're jumping over, and this was a different recording, different day, as you can tell. It's a little brighter. But so now we're on PV Drive East. And like I said, if you're looking for shopping and amenities, that's probably one of the downfalls from here. You are a little bit away from everything. You do have an incredible view there right across the road from you if you're in any of these houses on the right. But so you're also going to have the Trump Golf Course is over here on the left. We're coming up to an area, Ladera Linda. There's a brand new community center, not brand new, but really new community center, really nice. Lots of things to do, activities there. You can use a community center. There's it's a little park playground type thing. So a little park and playground, and that would be if you hang a right there. And then it's been a really hot topic lately, and I've done some other videos on that as well. So feel free to go check them out. But you may or may not have heard of some of the landslides and things that have been happening in Palos Verdes. And these are a couple of years old where the significant things happened. I'm not going to give too much of a history. We're coming right into the section right now where it's happened. I'm not going to give too much of a history on it, but basically, a long time ago, they were trying to take Crenshaw and they were going to continue it. So if you went left there, you're going into a Portuguese Bend Club. I'm jumping over to that because it's very relevant to the landslide topic. It's a private community. There's a guard gate there as well. And so you go in there and you can go down and there's a little beach club. That area was hit pretty hard with the landslides, a lot of movement. The neighborhood just to the right of us, Seaview, that we went by, part of that was hit pretty hard as well. A lot of this area at one point lost all power, lost all gas, basically kind of gone off the grid with what they're doing. And you can see the road is pretty rough through here. It's constantly moving. They're constantly repairing it. So that's been an ordeal. It's been going on for a couple of years now. And so they've had a number of homes that they got yellow tagged. Some even got red tagged. So what I was saying earlier, to our right here, kind of up the hill through the canyon there, is Crenshaw. It's the end of Crenshaw, which is a major street that goes through a lot of the area, but it ends at the top of the hill. And they had years ago, the plan was to bring that all the way over and bring it all the way over here and connect to PV Drive South. Well, there was land movement that had already been happening, and they triggered something that caused it to move even a lot more. It didn't move a lot, but it moved constantly, and so the whole area was shifting and had some movement, few inches maybe every year. But the rains we had, from the time of this recording, they were a couple of years ago, and that just sped things up significantly. And there were a few other things that had happened, and so they've done a ton of work trying to pump all the water out as much as they can. They're just pumping tons and tons of water out from under the ground to keep it from all that movement and from basically sliding, because the water was creating just everything being so slick underneath. The ground could just move and slide underneath, and it's done. There's so many that I could do a whole video on everything that it's done. Some things it's actually some cool things that it's done. It's made more reefs, more formations out in the water. There's different things. So, but you can see just from the way the cars bouncing here in the front, this road is pretty bumpy. They've done a good job of keeping it open because there has been significant movement. The last couple of years, it's slowed down a lot. So hopefully, maybe the worst of it is behind us. And it has really affected home values quite a bit. Some of these homes that were hit hard, some incredible homes with amazing views and a great location that have just lost a lot of value at this point. Hopefully that will start to come back as things maybe are stabilizing. But we'll see. So definitely you want to get some advice. You definitely want to talk to someone if you're thinking of buying over here. People still do. There's homes that are selling all the time. But you want to have the right people looking at them. You want to really at least know this is what's going on, so that you're prepared going into it. So we're going to continue through here. We're just about to come out of that. And then we are coming up, and we're going to be coming up on the left will be Terranea Resort, which there's Abalone Cove right down below there. There's a lot of good hiking, tide pools down there, things like that. So there's trails up to the right, all through the canyons. There's a lot of really good hiking trails around here. So definitely, it's easy. Google it, use some AI, figure tell where you're going, what you want to do, probably give you some really good hiking options. There's tons of different options all over, depending on what you're looking for. And then so yeah, as we're going through here, we're going to come up on Terranea. It'll be off the left. We get a couple neighborhoods here in between before we get to it. But Terranea finished probably around 2008, if I remember correctly, and obviously that wasn't a very good time in the economy in the U.S. So it didn't, do really well at the start, and they focused on a lot of businesses and conventions, and were busier during the week than they were on the weekends. But now it's taken off. It's a great place to go to. It's still kind of a hidden treasure. A lot of more people know about it, but you can still talk to plenty of people in LA that don't even know it exists. Definitely a lot of people that have never been there. And the people that end up going there are just blown away by it. It's truly amazing, and you feel like you're on vacation. You go there and spend the day, or stay for a night or two over the weekend, and you're on a nice vacation without really having to go anywhere. So it's great having that really right here in the backyard. And there's some great restaurants as well. If you're out this way, that's a nice place to go for dinner. We've got some different options. Sushi place. There's Nelson's is a restaurant, just right on the cliff. So some in Catalina Kitchen, another nice place with lots of great options. So those are always good. They've got the lobby bar, and you're looking out over the ocean. You can see Catalina. So I highly recommend checking that out if you aren't aware of it, or you haven't experienced it. Definitely go take a look. Now we're getting into Point Vicente Lighthouse here. They do tours. They're on your left. I'm gonna go there and check that out sometime. And Terranea, just a little bit of history on that. Anybody that is from the area or used to live in the area, a long time ago, it used to be marine land, kind of like SeaWorld. And there's a whole history on that. A little bit of controversy about how it all unfolded with that leaving, but it's a cool experience. And Terranea still kind of honors that legacy with how different things are named, and a lot of that. And so it took a while for that just sat as empty land for a really long time. I'm going to touch on Golden Cove, which is what we just passed. But just to finish up on Terranea, yeah, it sat as empty land for a long time until they could finally get that approved as developing a hotel there, or a resort. And so that's what that eventually was. And yeah, now it's a great option. But so we just passed Golden Cove. So if you're living out this way, like I said, there's not a lot of choices, not a lot of conveniences, amenities, restaurants, stores. But you're going to get Trader Joe's, of course. There's a little pub there. There's a nice Italian restaurant. There's Thai, Subway, Mexican food. Domino's is in there at this point. A lot of stuff in that Golden Cove shopping area. So it's definitely something when you're out this way. At least you have some of those options to choose from. So now since we passed where Golden Cove was, that's Hawthorne. So Hawthorne continues all the way over the hill and into Torrance. We passed it on PV Drive North in the other tour. But that takes us now, since we passed Hawthorne, we're not on PV Drive South anymore. We're finishing PV Drive West, but we're coming at it from the other way. We saw part one. I was coming the other direction, heading towards kind of the high school. Now we're going this direction, and now we are just past that sign there. It took us into PV Estates from Rancho Palos Verdes. And what's interesting, Rancho Palos Verdes, it weaves its way all over the hill. It's not like, here's this perfect little border section of, you cross in and out of it. You can cross in and out of it all over the place. It goes up over the top of the hill. It weaves its way through. It and Rolling Hills Estates kind of weave their way through each other at the top of the hill. So it can be a little confusing if you're trying to know which city you're in or where you're going, but just be aware of that, and that's why. So Palos Verdes Estates, we're in there. I took you through Valmonte. On the other side of PV Estates, now we are in Lunada Bay. It's really, really cool cliffs over here. You get some great views. People like to walk down there. As you can see, we're going this way, and like a lot of Palos Verdes, you don't have any, there's no overhead power lines. You're not going to get a lot of lighting. They're really big on light pollution. PV High and Penn High don't have lights for the football games, so they have the football games in the afternoon. One game a year usually, maybe more for playoffs. They let them bring in some lights. And so it's really kind of a cool experience to get to have that every now and again. But we're in Lunada Bay. We're heading towards the school. So we come up here. There's a little Lunada Bay, a little shopping center here. Lots of great things to choose from. And you have a little bit of shopping. There's some restaurants there. There's a market, things to choose from. So that's where you get some of your conveniences here in Lunada Bay. So that wraps up part 2 of the Palos Verdes Drive driving tour. If you didn't check out part 1, it's right here on the screen. So thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.